Why is it important to have law enforcement investigate a motor vehicle crash, to have a report prepared, and to really get law enforcement involved, especially if you've been injured? Well, simply put, there's a lot of vital information that will be included in the crash report that can be used in an injury claim or a property damage claim. In Ohio has some standard forms that law enforcement will use. Most will be at least 4 pages, and depending on whether there's written statements or photos, there'll be more. So let's go through some of the information from these crash reports that's important. So the first page usually is just titled Traffic Crash Report, and this is a lot of background information. Name of the law enforcement agency that's investigating the crash, where the crash happened, date and time of the crash. Sometimes there'll be a little narrative from the officer who responded, just detailing what he believes is the cause of the crash, how the crash happened. There might be a diagram. This page will also include information such as weather conditions, road surface conditions, what type of pavement. So a lot of vital information just about the environment that day that people can forget about. And there's additional information on that page. I'm not going to go through it all because there is a lot of information on these crash reports. Usually the next page will then be what's called the unit page, and this is, simply put, the vehicles that were involved. It's going to have the make, model, year, color of the vehicle identification numbers, the owner of the vehicles, the insurance company, and insurance policy number, which is extremely important if you're making a claim for injury or property damage. You certainly need to know which insurance company to reach out to. And then also, usually this page will indicate what type of damage there is to the vehicles, and it'll be pretty specific, whether it's a front end, bumper damage, rear damage. This page may also show how the crash happened, whether it's a T-bone, a rear end. Again, important details about a crash that people may forget about. Moving on to the next page is usually the motorist page, and people operating vehicles won't necessarily be the owner of the vehicles, so it's important to have both the owner and the motorist. It's possible that it's a family member is driving the vehicle. Maybe the son or daughter of the vehicle owner was driving, or another family member. Perhaps it was a rental car that's owned by a rental company, or perhaps someone was driving their employer's vehicle. It could have been a truck or some other vehicle that the employer owns and the employee was driving during the scope of their employment. So that's an important detail to know, whether the driver was in an accident while working. So the motorist page, it's very important, obviously, because it shows who was involved in the accident. And then also, if law enforcement makes a determination that one party was at fault or somebody should be cited, that motorist page is going to indicate one of the drivers was cited with an offense. It's going to indicate the offense charged, and that's usually an important part in injury cases, because that information right there could mean an insurance company is going to accept liability, and it may make it easier to settle an injury claim if that's the case. So the motorist page, a lot of vital information. Next page usually is the occupant/witness page. So if one of the vehicles has passenger or several passengers, it's going to have the identity of all those people, name, address, phone number. It's going to indicate which seat they were in. And again, for injury cases or property damage cases, these occupants could be vital witnesses to the case. And also, if there were actual witnesses who weren't involved, who weren't in one of the vehicles, who happened, maybe they were walking down the sidewalk or otherwise saw the accident and stopped and spoke to law enforcement, this page is going to have the witness name, address, phone number, their age. So again, when it comes to possible litigation, if there's some sort of dispute about how the accident happened, you have these witnesses and their contact information, you can reach out to them. Sometimes, in addition to the 4 pages I just went over, law enforcement may get written statements from the people involved, the witnesses, the occupants. So to get each person's statement of the events shortly after it occurred while it was fresh in their memory. So again, that's another vital piece of evidence that can be used in litigation, especially if you have cases that are litigated years down the road. People are going to be forgetful, not going to remember all the details. Well, if you have a crash report and you wrote a statement of your observations, it's certainly going to refresh your memory about what happened. And then many times law enforcement will take photographs of the vehicles, of the scene. These photos may be included in the crash report, and then it just gives you a visual idea of what happened, where it happened, what the conditions were. So in sum, these crash reports, they're vital evidence, especially when it comes to personal injury cases. It's a report that was made shortly after a crash occurred that has a vast amount of details. I didn't go over everything in the reports. There's a lot more. It's all vital evidence to a personal injury case, and so that's why it's important to have law enforcement investigate a crash, prepare a crash report, because people are forgetful, and it's a vital piece of evidence in your case.